Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shear.
Shalom Aleichem, and welcome back to today's Daf Hayemi, Menachos Daf Membeis. We begin 7 lines from the top of the Yomit. Tanu Rabbanan. We begin with a brisa on the word tzitzis in the Torah. Tzitzis, what is that? How do we define the word tzitzis? Ain't tzitzis ela anav. The definition of tzitzis is a branch which branches off the trunk of the tree. Likewise, the strings of your tzitzis, the loose hanging strings, they come out, they hang off the solid part of the string which is connected up to the beged, which is like the trunk from which the loose hanging strings hang. So that's the definition of the word tzitzis. As we find in a pasuk in Cheskel, who was describing a vision, where he was grabbed, so to speak, by the hair coming out of his head. By kocheni b'tzitzis roishi, grab me by my hair protruding from my head. The word tzitzis means something protruding. Abaye says, therefore, one has to ensure that his strings are loose hanging, untangled. V'tzarich lefrudo, you have to separate them. Some learn this is specifically to separate the blue from the white. Others learn that it refers to all the strings, even nowadays when they're all white, meant to separate them. But tzarech lefrudo, you meant to separate them kitsusisa, like the hair, the hairdo growing out of the guy's head, armoya on the guy's head. So they're meant to be separate and not tangled with each other. In fact, I remember once seeing that the word tzitzis, which in the Torah is spelled tzadik yud tzadik taf, stands for tzadik yafrid tzitziyos of tamid. You meant to have them separate, unentangled. Okay, Tanu Rabbanan. Hitel ala keren. Oy halagdil ksheira. So, let's say he made a tzitzis. Instead of running them through a hole which was off the corner, he actually tied them onto the corner itself. Ala keren. Oy halagdil, or there's some other like threads at the end, which they would leave at the end of the weave. So it's also basically the edge, the actual edge itself. That's where he puts his strings, his scissor strings. It's okay. That also qualifies. Shear. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov disagrees. Both these are invalid. Why? We're going to see in a minute. Says the Gemara, "Kaman Azla Hadam Rav Gidl Marav." So I have a statement from Rav Gidl Marav who says that the tzitzis strings are meant to be supported by the corner, meant to be hanging on the corner, over the corner itself. Tzitzis stricha shteinei tefes ala keren. It's meant to be hanging and sort of brushing over the corner itself, which means that they should be hung higher than the corner, right? And then they'll actually hang on the corner itself, right? Right? So that's the way it's supposed to be. Shenemar, because the pasuk says, "Al kanfei bigdei," meant to be on the corners. So rather than having them tied to the actual corner, no, put them further in so that they hang on the corner. Come on, whose opinion is this following? Well, that's clearly Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov, who just told us that unless it's further in, it's possible. Amar Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Yochanan, v'tzarich sheyarchik malei kesher gudel. How far in are you meant to hang the tzitzis? How far in should the hole be? So Rashi learns malei kesher gudel is the distance between the tip of the thumb until the first joint of the thumb. So that much. It's about an inch or so. Okay, that's how far in it should be from the actual edge. Now, if we recall, Rav Papa yesterday told us that the strings are meant to be within 3 etzbois, 3 finger widths to the corner. So we seem to have 2 separate sort of shiurim. Is it this or is it that? They're both right. One is a minimum, one is a maximum. Right? One tells us, look, it's got to be at least that much from the edge. closer is no good. And the other one says, well, it can't be further than 3 etzbais. That's already off the corner. It's already in the beged itself, in the body of the beged, rather than at the corner. So both are teaching us a different facet of this type of shear, of this location. Both are needed. Rav Papa's halacha 3 etzbais, and Rav Yaakov's halacha regarding the thumb. The imid Rav Papa, if only from Rav Papa, Havamina would say toich shalish. Okay, ensure that it's within 3 etzbais. Okay, not further in, because then you go into the body of the beged, territory. But perhaps the closer you get to the edge, the better, right? Become the makar of mali. Perhaps closer to the edge is better. Oh, it's just Rabbi Yaakov. Comes Rabbi Yaakov and says, no. At the edge, but not on the edge. It has to be offset by at least an inch or so, and then it sort of hangs on the edge. On the other end, Rabbi Yaakov. If only Rabbi Yaakov's shear, I would say, well, ensure that it's at least an inch off the corner, but not closer than that. But in terms of how far into the beged, how far away from the edge, perhaps the more the better. The further the better. That's when we need. Rav Papa says no. Stop at 3 etzbais. So it's between Malay Kesher Gudol, which is about an inch, and the Shalosh etzbais, Rav Papa. That's where you place your tzitzis. So not too close, right, and not too far. Continues the Gemara. Raveena v'Rav Sama havu yasu kamed Rav Ashi. So this is going to relate to the halacha. We have a story about it. Raveena and Rav Sama was sitting in front of Rav Ashi. Chazi Rav Sama lekarnei the glimi de Raveena. So Rav Sama noticed that the corner of Raveena's beged was a bit. It was basically torn. The tzitzis that had been hung near the beged, the hole sort of got enlarged, got torn, and the tzitzis were now closer to the edge than they should be, less than an inch, approximately an inch, right? So Chazi Rav Sama noticed that Raveena's tzitzis tore, and the strings were now closer to the corner. Then Emeloi Kesher Gudel, the current the glim of the Raveena, the sasar. So there was a tear that developed, Ubatsar Emeloi Kesher Gudel, which diminished that distance. It's now less than a Kesher Gudel between the strings and the edge. Amalei Rav Sama turns to Raveena. What happened to the halacha? It's too close. What about Rabbi Yaakov's halacha? Quoted Rabbi Yechanan. Can't be that close. Amar lei. So he says, of course I agree with the halacha. Of course I know about the halacha. B'shas asiyah itmar. The halacha that you're talking about is when you make the tzitzis. The Bush explains because the pasuk says v'oslam tzitzis al kafet bigdayim. When you make it should be al kafet near the edge. Right? And it was. When I made it, it was. Then it tore. It got close, and it got pulled close. That's okay. Ichsef. So Rav Sama got sort of embarrassed that he didn't know this halacha. He didn't have this, clarity. Amalei Rav Ashi. So Rav Ashi came to the rescue. He says, "Don't worry. Don't let it bother you. L'tiskefloch. Don't be stressed about it. He lives in Eretz Yisrael. He absorbs the avir of Eretz Yisrael, which endows one with special wisdom, right? Avira of Eretz Yisrael is machkim. Chad minai, one of them, ketrei minhan, is as good as 2 of us. Okay, it's double smart than us, so don't take it personally. Okay, now we'll see a couple of opinions regarding the number of strings in a tzitzis. So of course we do it the way we do it. We have 4 strings, right, which are inserted and doubled. So get you 4 on one side, 4 on the other. Looks like 8, but it's really 4 that are sort of folded. That's going to be the last opinion. First we have Rav Acha bar Yaakov. He holds that really you need 8. we were based on the pas of gedilim, right? Because gedil means a double braid. Minimum is 2. And gedilim is double that, so it's 4. They learned that actually it's 8. Because it says gedilim ta'asa. So you meant to have gedilim, which is 4, and ta'asa doubles it. So we have 2 Amoraim who used 8 strings, but in different ways. One would take 4 and fold them before putting them into the hole. So he ends up having an 8 on each side. Whereas the other Shita actually took 8 strings outright and put them into the hole. Rav Acha bar Yaakov Rami Arba, he would take 4 strings. Voyev Lumeyev, he would fold them into 2. So now you have 8. And that's how he would insert it into the hole. Ma'alu b'glima. So let's picture it. He had 4 strings, folded, put into the bag, so now you have 8, right? And then he would take the 4. He would take the package of 8. Okay, right? So he had 8, put it into the corner, the hole. Now he has 8 on each side. One side had just been inserted, it's short. The other one's long, hanging down. He'd take the long portion and sort of loop it into the short portion, and that's how it would hang from the baguette. So actually, in total, it would just be 8 hanging down, right? Would be 8 hanging down, 8 going through. But he would sort of loop it so that it would. That's how it would be affixed to the baguette. Umaylu beglima, put the doubled bunch into the baguette, so he has 8 going through. He would loop it, and then it would let hanging down as 8. Sorry, as 8. He would have 8 hanging down, right? Because he held ba'inan tamanya beglima. He meant to insert 8 into the baguette, ke'echad lahavi, gedil gedilim, which is a fulfillment of the pasuk gedil gedilim, as we explained, malkim sil, where it's inserted, and where it's going to be affixed to the baguette. Okay, so he took 4 and sort of turned them into 8 by doubling them. And then taking that folded side, pushed it into the baguette, so he has now 8 on either side. Then he would loop the 8 of this side into the other 8, loop it, and now you'd have 8 hanging down. Okay, that was his way of doing it. Rav Yirmiyah medifti Rami Tamanya, he took a very direct approach. He would take 8 strings to begin with. That's it. 8 strings, push it through, double it over, which ended up giving you 16. Dinu shitzer. He didn't loop them. It was 8 going through, coming all the way down the other side, so you have 16 string ends hanging down. Marber de Raveena obviously done. He had a different approach, as we do. Take 8 strings, push it in, which ends up coming down the other side for a total of 8. So 4, which doubles into 8, gedilim, which is really 4, but then it doubles because it's put through the baguette. That's the way we do it. Okay, Rav Nachman Ashkeche, he found the Ravada Baraba. What was he doing? Installing his tzitzis, Rami Chuti, and he made a bracha. As he was doing so, become a varech, he said a bracha, Basher Kedeshanu, Tzvois Vitzvanu, Lasa his tzitzis, even before he was ready to wear anything, while he was hanging his strings in his bag, and he made a bracha, Amalei. So Rav Nachman asked him, my tzitzi, what's the tzitzi that I'm hearing, Shemana? Well, what's going on? Hachem Rav told us that you don't make a bracha when you're tying your strings to the baguette. It's not time for a bracha yet. Tzitzis ain't stricha bracha. So according to this, according to Rav Nachman's version, Rav was of the opinion you do not make a bracha when you install the strings itself. Kinoch nafshi de Rav Huna. Now, when Rav Huna passed away, Al Rav Chizda Lemir Madarav de Rav. So Rav Chizda went to Beis Medrash. He had some difficulty, contradiction within Rav himself. Umiyamar Rav, is that so that Rav held no bracha when you make your tzitzis? Tzitzis ein tzricha bracha. Ba'amar Rav, Rudim Rav tells us menal tzitzis v'gichavim shipsula. So it would seem that there's no reason to make a bracha while you're putting on the tzitzis, because it's not yet the moment of, right? But we have halacha in the name of Rav that a guy cannot make your tzitzis. How do we know that tzitzis that a guy made is pasul? Shnam, the pasuk says, Daru b'nei Yisrael. Only b'nei Yisrael v'aslam tzitzis. Only they can make tzitzis. B'nei Yisrael yasu. Only a yid can make tzitzis. Yasu. A guy can't make tzitzis. That's a contradiction. Now, what's the contradiction? Vaimai rumya. What do you mean to ask? We have one Rav, no bracha. One Rav, only yid can do it. What's the problem? Rav Yosef, let me explain to you what the problem was. Because Sabar of Chizda, who asked this question, was bothered as follows. He says, these two things should be related. Kol mitzvah shekshera b'avli, a mitzvah that can be performed even by a guy, can be prepared by a guy. Then I understand be Yisrael in tzorach levarach. If a yid chooses to make it, there's no point in making a bracha because, as Rashi explains, you can't say Asher Kedeshanu Mitzvah Vitzivanu if a guy can do it. So it's not unique to a yid, so there's no bracha. But something like making tzitzis, which Rav himself teaches, can only be performed by a yid. So there he should be making a bracha. Asher Kedeshanu Mitzvah Vitzivanu La'aseh tzitzis. And here Rav says you don't make a bracha when you make your tzitzis. That was the thinking behind this question. If a yid chooses to do tzorach levarach, should make a bracha, tzorach levarach aleh. So that was the contradiction. Okay, again, here Rab says that only a yid can make tzitzis. B'nei Yisrael, v'amarta aleim, v'aslam tzitzis, which would indicate that it's time for a bracha, Asher Kedeshanu, to make tzitzis. And then Rab himself says you don't make a bracha for making tzitzis. Now, the Gemara will now sort of challenge this correlation. And you're making a connection, a linkage between the one who's making it and whether or not you need a bracha depends on who's going to make it. Uklalu, is that a general rule? Done by a yid, make a bracha. Done by a guy, don't make a bracha. Bris milah, even a guy can do. The Sani is learned on a bris. Yisrael, you're living in a town where there's no Yiddish mayal, right? Reife here means a mayal. Second best, you have a choice. You have a guy who can do the milah, you have a kusi who had their own sort of religion. They turns out that they were really every Zara. Okay, they had their image of a statue of a dove on top of Hagrizim, which they would worship. So which way do we go? Who's going to do the milah? A guy or a kusi? Says the Brisa, believe it or not, Yamal Armoy. Choose the guy. He'll do it as a professional. He won't have any ulterior motives. That's better than a kusi. He has his own agenda. We'll have a Zara in mind. That's worse. Well, Yamal kusi. Rabbi Daimer, the other way around. Kusi, have the kusi do it because he won't endanger the baby. Well, Armoy, as opposed to a guy who's suspected of shvichas dam, he might endanger the child. So clearly, a guy is qualified to do a bris, right? So if it's something that a guy can do, you would assume that even when a yid does it, there's no bracha, because it's an act that even a guy could do. But we know that when a yid does the milah, he certainly makes a bracha. Ubi Yisrael tzorach levarach da'armah. We learned Hamal, the one that makes the milah. What does he say? Baruch atah Asher Kedeshanu, right? So it's an ala milah. Apparently, this correlation is not doesn't really hold up. Says the Gemara, actually it will hold up, because let's remember we're going like Rav. This linkage relates to Rav. Now Rav himself actually holds that only a yid can make a bris milah, so it makes sense that you make a bracha Asher Kedeshanu when you make the milah. Midu tamal Rav. Well, this whole klal, this formula, this correlation, was based on Rav, right? Rav mipsal posel. This whole point was regarding Rav. Rav himself actually holds that a guy who does milah is posel. The itmaz we learned. How do we know that if a guy does milah, it's posel? Dara bar papa mishmei the Rav. He quotes Rav. Va'atas brisis yishmar. Raveena was instructed by Hashem, you do the bris. not a guy. Rabbi Yechon Amar, another source, Himal Himal. So that double lashon Himal Himal teaches us only one who relates personally to the bris milah, a yid, he can do a milah on others. Hamal, one who has milah on himself, Yamal can do others, as opposed to a guy. Okay, so basically, we've just salvaged that formula, right? Which was that if it's an act that is exclusive to a yid, then you make a bracha. Otherwise, you don't make a bracha. So that brings us back to the question. If the act of making tzitzis is exclusive to a yid, he should be making a bracha. Shakidchanu lasos tzitzis. And Rav himself says, you don't make a bracha. How does that work? The Gemara continues discussing this formula again. So actually, sukkah masayele, tefillin havet yufte. This rule that Rav Yosef presented in explaining Rav Chisda's kasha and Rav can be supported from the halacha of sukkah, but challenged from tefillin as follows. Look, hari sukkah. Let's take a look at a sukkah. The ksheru et kichavim. Even a guy can make a sukkah, as long as it was done for the sake of shelter, right? The Sanyas were learned in a brisa. Sukkah's et kichavim, a sukkah that a guy made, a hut that he made, to live in there to protect himself from the elements. Sukkah's nashim, a hut made, for women to sit there in private. Sukkah's behema, for the animals. Sukkah's kusim, sukkah mikol makom, any sort of temporary hut meant for dwelling and protection. Kshera can be used for mitzvah sukkah, b'vashte mitzvah chasa, provided that it was meant for shading, for protection. So clearly, a sukkah manufactured by a guy works. Ubi Yisrael in Torah levarach, and in fact, this works very well with the halacha that a yid doesn't make a bracha. Even if he himself constructs a sukkah, he doesn't make the bracha as he's making the sukkah. The Sanis was in a brisa. Or it's a sukkah. A person builds his sukkah, he'll make a shechayanu for the excitement of the moment, but not a mitzvah's last sukkah. He says we don't do it. We make shechayanu when we actually go to eat in the sukkah. But according to this brisa, the shechayanu is meant to be said when you build a sukkah. But that's it. You don't make a ashakachanu lasei sukkah. That fits very well with the fact that even a guy can make it. When he's about to finally go sit inside and eat on sukkah, he says, okay, so these two brachas. But you never make lasei sukkah upon building the sukkah. You don't make that. That fits with Rav Yosef's rule, Rav Chisda's rule. But on the other hand, tefillin to yufte. If we take a look at tefillin, that's a challenge to this rule. Vari tefillin, the psul is because tefillin could not be manufactured by a guy. Period. So you would think that if a yid sits down and makes tefillin, he should make a bracha, last is tefillin. Okay, the Tani we learned in a brayz. The Tani of China Breda Rava. He taught us a halacha, Parshanya, that was his location, he came from that place. He says, Sefer Torah, tefillin and mezuzos, right? All these items. Shekasvan stuki, kusi, avgechavim, eved, isha, v'katan, mumar, a stuki, who rejects the oral law, kusi, a goy, eved, a isha, a minor, a mumar, one who rejects the Torah way of life. They made tefillin, or Sefer Torah, mezuzah, right? If they wrote any of these items, psulin, you can't use them. Shenemar, the pasuk says, ukshartem, uchsavtam. And we learn one who relates to the mitzvah, one who is obligated, who performs, who conforms, who believes in kshira, he can write. You got to be in it. One who relates to the tying of the tefillin, to the laying of the tefillin, one who is obligated, he can write these things. One who doesn't relate to the mitzvahs, he can't write. So it's only something that a Yisrael can write. Nevertheless, B'Yisrael ain't tzarech levarich. Ain't tzarech levarich. Still, we don't find anywhere, right? You make a bracha. Even if Yisrael sits down to make the tefillin, he will not make a bracha. The Shalach Rav Chia Breder Rav Huna, he taught us the halacha meshmei Rav Yochanan. You only make a bracha when you wear the tefillin, not when you manufacture them. Al tefillin shal yad. What do you make on tefillin shal yad? Baruch Asher kitchem says on tefillin on the next tefillin. On the tefillin al tefillin shal reish. What do you make? Ayim baruch Asher Hashem kitchem says al mitzvahs tefillin. That's when you lay the tefillin. But when you make the tefillin, you don't make any bracha. But you last is tefillin. You don't make last is tefillin. So basically, this rule is now being challenged. Here we say that even a preparatory act, making a tefillin, making a sukkah, all these, making your tzitzis, we spoke about milah also, things which a guy can also do, then even a yid would not make a bracha upon doing these activities, but otherwise he would. And here we find, by tefillin we find there's no bracha upon making the tefillin regardless. El lav time. So you must say that the reason is otherwise. Why do we find that sometimes we make the bracha, sometimes we don't? The answer is like this. Very simple. Kol mitzvah dasiyasa gmar mitzvah. An act of mitzvah, which with the act itself that you're doing is the completion. Like where? Like milah, right? The masa milah is the essence of the mitzvah. You go in milah. There you make a bracha, irrespective of whether a guy could or could not do it. Even though theoretically a guy can do it. But if a Yisrael does the milah, he makes a bracha. Yisrael tzarech levarach aleh. On the other hand, if it's not a completion of the mitzvah, it's just a preparatory phase, like making the sukkah, making the tzitzis. V'chol mitzvah dasiyasa lav gvar mitzvah. On the other hand, when you're doing an act which is not the completion, it's only a preparation, kigayin, like making the tefillin. There, it goes all the way around. Afagav the psul, even though it's not valid when a guy does it, it still does not generate a bracha. B'Yisrael ein tzarech levarach. Even if a yid chooses to make it, he doesn't make a bracha. Because it's not the completion, it's only preparatory. Okay, now regarding tzitzis, we had that whole machlekes, right? Because Rav Nachman said you don't make a bracha. In fact, he heard him making the bracha. He said, oh, tzitzi, what's going on? I don't make a bracha when you, in the name of Rav. Rav Chizah says, no, you should make a bracha. Right? What's the machlekes? It links back to this rule. Is the act of making the putting on the is that a completion or is that preparatory? And this really connects back to the old machlekes we had the other day. What is the essence of mitzvah tzitzis? Is it garment related? So then when you're putting it on, you're fulfilling the mitzvah, or is it personal? When you wear the beged, you have tzitzis. It's a personal mitzvah. In which case, applying the strings to the beged in itself is not the completion of the mitzvah. It's just preparing it, enabling the mitzvah. So it doesn't earn a bracha. Okay, so that's going to be the machlekes. By tzitzis, machlekes as follows. Mar savar chavas talus. Rav Chizah says it's garment related, so when you put it on, you should be making a bracha. Mar savar chavas gavru. Rav Nachman held it's a personal obligation. So there's no bracha when you apply the strings until you actually put on the beged. Let's go back to the trigger point of this whole kasha, this whole conversation. Because we found that on the one hand, Rab says you don't make a bracha upon installing the tzitzis. And then we find Rab who says that a guy can't do it, and that sort of triggered that whole... You had that version, but we had a different version altogether. Anan hachi masninla, we had a different version that actually allows a guy to put on the put the strings on, in which case the whole kasha falls away. How do we know that if a guy attaches the tzitzis, it's okay shenemar? Just the other way around. Tell the Yisrael, they should make for you. Have it done by others. Even a guy can make it for you. So even a guy can make it for the sake of the Yid. That certainly preempts the whole question. Now we certainly understand why, even when a Yid puts it on, there's no bracha, because it's something that a guy can do as well. There's no shakid shana on it. Interesting discussion. Okay, before we continue, so we had the location of the tzitzis, not on the corner, near the corner, not too far in, not too close to the corner, but in terms of closeness to the corner, it's only when you're making it, but if it tears and gets closer, it's okay. We learned about the amount of strings, the number of strings, 4, 8, and interesting discussion regarding brachas on mitzvah. Turns out that at least regarding tefillin and sukkah, bracha only happens later. By milah it happens as you're doing it, and by tzitzis, there was machlekes which really connects to chayvas gav or chayvas talis. Amar Raveena Marav, asan min hakoitzim. So certainly you have to tie the strings on for the sake of tzitzis. But let's say you have a piece of cloth, a rough piece of cloth which already has loose strings hanging from it, left over from the from the weaving process or from the sewing process. That's not going to work for tzitzis because it wasn't put on for the sake of mitzvah tzitzis. Right? V'oslam tzitzis, you got to put it on for tzitzis. Amar Raveena Marav, asan min hakoitzim. So he fashioned his tzitzis from the koitzim. Koitzim means like a thorn. Basically these threads which are just sticking out of the beged, happen to be there and sticking out of the material. Uminam nimen. Well, you have, again, it's another form of, remnants. So you have like the threads that were left, after sewing the beged. Uminagardim. Leftover threads from the weave. Psula, you can't do that. You can't use it for tzitzis. Menachos kshera, but if you use strings from a ball of strings, so although the string was not made l'shem tzitzis, just a plain piece of string, but if you're putting it onto the beged l'shem tzitzis, that works. You don't have to actually manufacture the string for the sake of tzitzis. Tzviya, right? The spinning doesn't have to be. Shmuel says, Rabbi Yehuda, this was Rab. When I presented this to Shmuel, he disagreed. Amar, he says, Af min hasisim psul, even if you take string off a roll and put it on, it doesn't work. Why? But in a tefillah lishma, you have to actually make the strings, spin them for the sake of tzitzis. Ketanoy, actually, this connects to a different machlekes tanoim, which discusses a tefillin. The same type of question: does the leather used to make the box of the tefillin? Right, so it's also something serving a mitzvah. Does it have to be manufactured l'shem, l'shma, or not? We could just take a plain piece of hide. Tzipon zav. If you cover the parshanut, you made a golden box. We should tell, right, it has to be made of leather or something which is kosher leather also, right, from a kosher animal. Right, but she says because if the straps, we learned the other day, has to be made of leather, certainly the box itself, and it has to be kosher animal because pasuk says l'mantia teres Hashem beficha. It has to be something which you can beficha, you can eat, something which is kosher. It could be a dead animal, but it has to be a kosher variety. Okay. In any case, if he made these interesting boxes, or he wrapped the parshas with the skin of a non-kosher animal, so it doesn't work. But you use hide from a kosher animal, it works. Even though he took it off the he took it from his off the pile, and it was not ibdan, it wasn't processed and l'shem the tefillin. So this corresponds to the shita of Rav, that even regular strings can be used for tzitzis as well. It doesn't have to be manufactured for the sake of mitzvah. But Shimon Ben Gamliel disagrees. He says, Af oir be'matayra psulis. Even if you take kosher skin, if it wasn't processed for the sake of tefillin, it doesn't work. Psulis atshi abdun lishman. Has to be in lishman, likewise by the strings of the tzitzis. Amar le abayler of Shmuel bar Yehuda. Okay, so we know that tchelis would be used for the tzitzis. How was it done? How do you dye the tchelas of the tzitzis? Normally, he says like this: My sin and dam chilazin. We get our hands on the blood dye from the chilazin, whatever it is, creature, fish, snail, whatever. But v'samanon, we mix it with samanon, some sort of agent, which facilitates the dyeing process. Tosfos asks, how do you mix in other elements and have pure dye? The Parshim explained that what Rashi meant was that, like the Yehuda explains, he says, you can't do it otherwise. So inevitably, that's what the Torah meant. Pure dye, but you mix some sort of agent with it, so sort of some sort of emulsifier, some sort of agent which makes it happen, which allows it to get absorbed into the material properly. Okay, so we start with that. We take these ingredients and we throw it into a pot. We cook it up. And then we test it to see if it's ready for dyeing. So we take a little bit of the dye, put it into a little sampler, beyasa, a little egg, eggshell. And then we test it on a piece of cotton to see if it catches. And then when we're done this test, hopefully successfully, right? We will not pour back in the leftover dye from the eggshell, because had been used already for dyeing the sample. We discard of it. We burn the ball. Okay, this the wool ball. We burn it. We don't want it to get mixed into the tzitzis supply. Says we have learned three things from this presentation. Three halachic anecdotes. First of all, Shema mino tima psula. We learned that the material that was used for the testing cannot be used for tzitzis, because it wasn't lishma, right? Shema mino debinas v'lishma. Number two, we learned ushma mino. We also learned that you have to dye it l'shem tzitzis, which is really one and the same as the previous item. We'll see in a minute. Shmam notim pasla. Ushmam notim pasla. Also, we learn from the fact that they had to discard of the extra dye. I can just pour it back in. Now, once it had been used for sampling, it can't be used for tchelas. So, item 1 and 2 are really one and the same. Hay notim psula, and it's v'lishma. The reason why the tima is puzzle, the sample is puzzle, because it needs to be lishma. So, why are you itemizing it as two separate things? Amar Rashi. You're right, it's all one and the same. Matam Kam is just explaining himself. These three are really 2 points. Matam Psula, why is that sampler possible? Because you have to dye it lishma, which in this case was not. It was just to test the Ketanoi. Now let's focus on the third halacha. They got rid of the extra paint that was left in the eggshell, the sampler, because they had taken some of it for sampling. What's the problem? That disqualifies the remnant, Actually, it's Tama Pasla. Once he samples, so if he takes from the paint supply and he samples from it, the whole thing becomes disqualified. It's already used paint. It has to be pure, perfect, unused for other purposes. Even secondary coloring is okay. Even if it was used for, you sampled from it to sample, to test, the leftover is okay. Because the ushni is like sheni, seconds. Leftover is also fine. So according to him, there's no need to pour out whatever's left in that eggshell. Okay, we'll pick it up tomorrow. Meantime, all the best to you and Hatzlacha.